Greetings and salutations, everyone. Welcome to Autists Circle number 5. Oh, not number 5. It's number 4. Yeah, because of YouTube got extra special, and it had forced me to rename everything. It's like, yeah, this is smart. That does help a lot. Oh, El Jim can't hear you right now, but
Ah, that's because I had my mic muted. I muted it in this damn scene. Okay. Well, that's good because it didn't catch the F-bombs that I dropped. So, fantastic.
Exactly, yeah.
Anyhow, thank you. Yeah, this is the fourth one, the fourth Autists Circle. Welcome back. Still, obviously, I guess, struggling with audio issues. We won't have it on the mainstream because I just turned everything up. So, so if you guys, if it's a little loud, you might have to turn it down. But anyhow, today, once again, we are going to be covering another Baroque artist. Today, we're going over Orazio Gentileschi. He was a friend and contemporary of Caravaggio's. He was born in Pisa in 1563. He was the son of a goldsmith, so not like not a wealthy person, but not dirt poor, but still a tradesman. And he
it would have been what, the mercantile class of the time, which is
Yeah.
the precursor to the middle class.
Yeah. He apprenticed under his uncle Aurelio, who supposedly apprenticed under Titian. So he supposedly, or he. We got noise in the background here. Let me turn that shit off. So he was supposedly, his uncle supposedly apprenticed with Titian, and sorry, I'm looking at the chat here trying to get everything. I turned off all my fans and everything, so it shouldn't be all loud. Okay, anyhow, so get you over the picture if it's gonna load.
So, okay. So.
Yeah, my Chrome crashed earlier, so we might skip that. Okay, so it's born in 53 or 63, apprenticed under his uncle Aurelio, who was apprenticed under Titian. In 1580, he moved to Rome, where he was a working guy. He worked. He had his own shop, but he worked on frescoes. He moved there as a fresco painter and working on cathedrals and stuff, which is very different from what. Oh, nice. It's very different from the work that Caravaggio did, because Caravaggio exclusively did paintings. He didn't do frescoes. He did do some, he painted some stuff on the walls, but it wasn't fresco work. He also,
it was more mural, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, correct. It was mural work. When he was in Rome in the early 1600s, he met Caravaggio, and became acquainted with him because, of course, Caravaggio was such a prominent and important painter at the time that he had no choice but to kind of, or he didn't have a choice, but he incorporated Caravaggio's work and Caravaggio's realist techniques into his work, and that was really was highlighted more by the use of models and everything like that. But he was a very refined painter, and by the end of his painting style, or by the end of his life, he lived for a very long time. He had a very distinct and refined style. He met so in the 1600s, he worked with Caravaggio, or met Caravaggio a little bit. Was part of that the libel suit, which we'll cover after I'm done with this shit. In 1621, he was invited to Genoa by the nobility there because his style was so elegant that he became really in demand. His way to soften up the Caravaggesque style was really popular, and it was really kind of elegant the way he did it. So anyhow, you were going to say something, Bleach?
Just kind of a brief look through his work versus Caravaggio. He uses a lot more color in his backgrounds than Caravaggio, which I think, while he's considered a Caravaggesque, it's definitely it's such a stark difference compared to Caravaggio, but between Orazio, just simply because he sets a rich background, a simple background, but a rich background.
There we go. Yeah, he does, and that's definitely the Mannerist painting style still influencing it. This is where you see Caravaggio was pretty much like wholly removed from the Mannerist style and drawn into his own, like dark realist settings. Orazio maintained a bit of that Mannerist polish, and it allowed him to create very beautiful landscapes. And it also allowed him to really, his use of light and texture on cloth is really amazing, and we'll see that throughout while we're looking at his pieces here. In 1624, he was invited to Paris to join the entourage of Queen Marie de Medici in Paris, which was a very prominent position. But it sounds like he did a lot of really, like, he worked for nobility, he did a lot of stuff like that. But in reality, he was a very hard worker, and really just provide for his family. He had money problems throughout his life, because he was a working man. Like, you work piecemeal, and you get paid what people give you. And so he had a big family, and so he had to support his family and everything. So he moved around a lot to accept commissions from places. So he went to Paris because it was a good way for him to make money for his family. And then
didn't he have at least 6 kids?
Yeah, he did. And we'll talk about his oldest daughter in the next episode. She's a very, very renowned Baroque artist herself. In 1626, Charles I of England invited him to be the court painter at Whitehall. And he ended up doing a lot of work there, and he spent a lot of time there, and he died at the age of 76 in 1639 as a well-respected painter, well-renowned, well-respected painter. So he had a really, in opposition to Caravaggio's like maverick, rough lifestyle, Gentileschi really had he had like a blue collar background almost. So, oh, look at that. The chat box isn't working. Go ahead and turn that off. Yeah. Okay, so, of course. So he was a very refined man, and I think that this portrait that was done of him is very. I think it's very.
The chat box isn't working.
Oh, lovely.
Go ahead and turn that off. Yeah. Okay, so Of course.
I'm getting sound somewhere else. Okay, there we go. All right. Man, Chrome just keeps being weird on me, dude. We'll get there.
I realized that OBS decided to fail on me, and my broadcast is just started, even though the button was said it was live.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
okay.
Thanks, OBS.
So if it's not technical difficulties of our own design, it's ones that have befallen us. Anyhow, so very elegant dude. So we'll talk about the libel suit here real quick.
Yes, because this is rather an entertaining poem.
It is. So in 1603, Giovanni Baglioni sued Orazio and Caravaggio and 3 other people for libel because of a poem that was circulating regarding a painting that that Baglioni had just done. And it was really kind of trying to damage his professional reputation. And Caravaggio was just a bit of an asshole. And so
I would have never guessed.
Yeah, I know. And so although him and all his cohorts probably got together to do this painting, like he fell on the sword, or do this poem, he fell on the sword for him. And there's just there's just something really, it's hilariously petty, the whole thing. Because when they get up on the stand to testify, it actually, and Gentileschi ended up having to reveal a bit of his studio practice, which wasn't like, it was kind of like a trade secret in a way, you know, but he had to explain more. He got questioned. He had to explain more about his studio practice and the models he used and stuff like that. And it's, so it opened him up, but he always maintained that he was not part of it, that he didn't, it was like, it wasn't me. You know, he's saying, I didn't write the poem. You know, that's all he's saying, I didn't write it. But Caravaggio got up there and basically said, well, yeah, he sucks. If he wasn't such a clown, if his painting style wasn't so shitty, then it'd be fine. And so some of the parts from this poem, like I would read the whole thing, but there's much of it. It's a lot of it's like absolutely too obscene for YouTube, which is kind of funny.
Yes. It is an amazing poem, though. I'm just going to say
it is, and you know, shout out to the you know, the Rome, the government of Rome and the Catholic Church for keeping meticulous court records from back in this time. Yes. So the poem starts off saying, so the English translation, basically, John Baggs, you haven't a clue that your paintings are woman's work. So that that harkens back to how we talked about earlier, how Caravaggio's painting style was very masculine and manly.
Yes. That's the thing I really hit on when I first read it, was that is such a slam against kind of the more effeminate nature of Baglione's work.
Yeah.
Because it is very, I don't know, like kind of a copy pasta version of Caravaggio without the talent.
It is to a degree. Now, I actually think that the painting is not bad. I don't think it's terrible. But more excerpts of the poem here. We'll look at the poem. We'll look at the painting after this. So one point he tells them to take his drawings and wipe his ass with them. And then he says, I mean, in my beloved art of painting, because he wants to call himself a painter, even though he couldn't grind colors for me. just petty shit.
Yeah.
And then one of the best lines. Pardon me, painter, if I do not sing your praises, because you are unworthy of that chain you wear, and worthy only of painting's vituperation. Which sounds really like it really pops in Italian.
Yeah. I just also like how it's a very much of a kind of a southern, oh bless your heart kind of thing.
Yeah,
And it's
yeah.
like, oh wow.
And so Caravaggio never actually, he spent a couple days in jail pending the court date, but he was never actually put in jail over this. He was put in jail for a lot of other shit, but not specifically because of this. So this is the painting. It is called, the painting is called Divine Love Conquering Earthly Love. And you can definitely see now I think Caravaggio took so much exception to him using the dark background and borrowing so much from his style. The face in this is definitely stylized. Like that does not look like a model. No. I can't, and I mean, again, I don't think it's terrible. You know, it's a very large painting, and it was done at a church, and so it was a commission. You know, so they made the commission, and then someone said, "Hey, your commission sucks," and so this guy has to defend it, be like, "Oh hell no, bitch," and so then they have a lawsuit over it, where I think Gentileschi. He maintained his innocence, while Caravaggio just kind of uses as a platform to further shit talk Baglioni. The irony of that is that Baglioni ended up eventually being Caravaggio's biographer after he died. So that is pretty damn funny.
Yeah, that's a twist of fate.
Yeah, right. Okay, so we're gonna jump into some works now. The first thing we'll do is David and Goliath. So he obviously is Baroque painting, and he did a lot of religious works. This was very early on when he was painting in Rome. It was a private commission, so a lot of his works were private commissions, and it was because he had his own studio that he worked out of. It's where his daughter trained out of and stuff like that. And so he wasn't necessarily on the payroll for someone. He did a lot of private stuff. People would come to him and say, "Hey, I want this, and I want this," because they liked his style. And so this one I really like because, I mean, the scene is really cool. And it's at the very beginning of Caravaggio, of his relationship with Caravaggio. So he still has very strong Mannerist tendencies, where he leans more into the softness of people instead of the realism of Caravaggio. So, and I think you could see that, like David's face and the red hair. It's smooth. It's young. Very young.
Yeah.
And it was probably a young model, obviously, that he used for this. And then Goliath on the ground, which I think it's a very cool, like, dynamic action scene. There's a lot of action to it, but at the same time, there's implied violence without actual violence, right? And so that was one of the things that people liked so much about him, was that he would take rough scenes and violent scenes and soften them and give them a refinement and a class, like this.
Yeah, because if you know the story, you know what's going to happen next, but it doesn't need to be just graphically there for everyone.
Right. And so another thing I'd like to point out, he reuses elements quite a bit, which a lot of good artists do, but once you've got something that works, you stick with it. And so this sling here, it's a really cool detail down here, obviously, because then that just obviously cements it that it's David and Goliath. I mean, if you had any doubt, anyways, about who it was, the sling is definitely an indication of that. And also, I really appreciate that he displayed Goliath's oversized sword. Because it was,
Yeah,
he didn't kill him with his own sword. He beheaded him with Goliath's sword, is what I think. I can't remember exactly, and
that's what I remember.
Mm-hmm.
But it's been a while since I've been Old Testamenting.
Right. So this one is currently on display in the National Gallery in Dublin. The painting itself it's pretty standard size. It's like 73 inches by it's 73 by 53. It's 185 centimeters by 136 centimeters, which is a pretty standard size for a large painting. And shortly after this, so in this same vein, years later, he did. This is David contemplating the head of Goliath, and you can see there's some pretty big differences between the two scenes. Like, first off, David's face looks far more pensive. He looks very pensive, yes, and stoic, and he's really contemplating the head here. Here's the sling again, which I thought, yeah, there. Yeah. There's that reuse of elements.
Excellent continuity.
Really, yeah, fantastic. So you see the dark colors that are more emblematic of the chiaroscuro that Caravaggio used. But again, you still have, mm-hmm, the very nice background. Like, it's absolutely lovely. The rocks and the branches and everything. It's a very
it's almost pastoral.
It is exactly. Like, the backgrounds are very and it's a very I think it's a stoic. It's a pretty emotionally. It's an emotional painting that puts out. It'll make you think, right? And it's mm-hmm, not the same, like, triumphant David, where he's cheering. Like, normally when this story is displayed, David is proudly displaying Goliath's head, in most paintings. But in this one, he's not. He's contemplating over it and thinking, well, I can't imagine what he's thinking, but he's definitely contemplating it. Now, this painting...
It's kind of that expression of kind of like a bit of being lost that is encountered with having to take a life.
Yeah.
Which I think is it's an interesting expression to see captured.
It is.
This is actually one of the better versions.
Yeah, I agree. And so he painted this after Caravaggio's David was circulating, after Caravaggio's death. So this was after Caravaggio died. And he's taking cues probably from the death of his friend, mm-hmm, about and this is the Caravaggio painting, which again, there's no triumph here. He's a pensive, he doesn't look like celebratory, and this, of course, is Caravaggio. And it's like we talked about, this painting was meant to be, or could have been interpreted as Caravaggio presenting his head to the Pope, in the form of David and Goliath. But the darkness and the realism of this inspired Orazio to make David more pensive and thoughtful, instead of making David heroic and triumphant. Which is
that's a good contrast.
Yeah. And I think it shows his talent and it takes bravery to do something like this too, and have it be successful in a time like that. Mm-hmm. And not just successful, but sought after. So
yeah, because it's something where the triumphant hero is always except for maybe modern audiences, but always a draw. Right. And to do it where, yes, he's still the victor, but there's that contemplation of what's the cost.
Right. He understands the weight of his actions more.
Yes.
So so from here, we'll move over to Judith and her maidservant with the head of Holofernes, which is
yes, a very popular topic for
yeah,
the Baroque period.
yeah, they loved painting women with this guy's head, but it was it's a popular biblical story, and it's one that allows a lot of interpretation and expression. So some of the things that really stand out to me in this painting, more than the head, more than the faces, is just the cloth. I mean, you can look at the gold and the way the light is done on this cloth. It's so well done, the way the light comes in here. The soft reflections, it's just, I mean, it just highlights his his style, how he so intently, he worked so intently on the cloth and everything, and it just makes the whole scene more rich.
Well, the folds of the fabric are just amazing to see.
Right? I mean,
because the headpiece on the maid is prominent, but if you look at Judith's collar area, to have those gentle folds there is remarkable. Yeah,
absolutely. And in this transition of the undercloth, right here, where he's showing the over, like this is the backside of the fabric. It's just a really, it adds so much richness to the scene. And again, this is another one of those scenes where they've got the people in contemporary garb. This is continuing the Baroque period pro-Catholic Church propaganda. That's that's what this is. But then also in this one, you can definitely see Caravaggio's influence because of
for one.
Yeah, because of the darkness of the background and the realism portrayed too. Like, these are not stylized people. They look like real people. This person has a very real expression of like, oh, I have to be looking out over here. We got to be careful. We got to go. And there's another. Oh, go ahead.
To get back to the previous painting for comparison, the lack of gore. There's no blood. There's nothing like you'd see with the luridness of Caravaggio.
Yep, exactly.
But it still tells that story very well.
Yeah, exactly. And that was one. Not everybody wanted to have, not everybody wants to have a John Wick photo on their wall. Everybody wants to have a picture of a hero, but not everybody wants to have like a John Wick scene. And so, and especially if you're going to take this and hang it someplace where, like in a dining room or something like that. Like, this is probably not a tasteful enough place for something for the dining room. But the lack of blood, the lack of like serious violence in here, aside from the fact these bitches are holding a dude's head. It's what the nobility sought after him for, and I think it was a really masterful thing. But this painting also, he has another. So this model, he's used her in a few things, and one of the other ones that's really noticeable is this painting here, which is called "Young Woman Playing a Violin." It's clearly the same woman in both paintings. And again, at the same time, because this is another one contemporary to this one, where it's using the very strong Caravaggesque coloring, the realism, and then again his own mastery of fabrics and cloth. This is one of the earlier ones, so it's not as intricate, but
it's still there though. You can see where between the two, he's really starting to work on the fabrics. It's
Yep.
almost, I would say, an obsession for him to get the fabrics correct, because the violin and her face are very well defined, but the fabrics are a little, and perhaps it's the resolution, but they're a little vague,
Well,
and
this
not
is
as crisp as you see with the Judith painting.
Yeah, 100%. And this is this is an earlier painting too. So this predates the Judith painting. So it should really say that he reused the model for the remodel from Young Woman Playing a Violin in Judith, but but regardless, the Judith is I think the Judith is a better painting, and so we're going with that one.
By far, it tells a fuller story.
Yeah, much more. So, and this was another private commission. To get back on that private commission, like he wasn't always working for the church. He wasn't always working for the whoever, you know. So, I think so. Now I want to move on to the next one, which is Annunciation, and there's a lot to this one, and I really like this painting. So this we do have a provenance for, because it was painted by a branch of the Soli family, one of the big banking dynasties. In fact, they're still one of the big families in Italy today. So this painting is huge. It is 8 by 5 feet. So 5 feet wide, 8 feet tall. So it's huge. And it shows, this is the Annunciation, as it's called, and that's when the angel Gabriel met the Virgin Mary and announced to her that she will be carrying Christ. So the scene itself, I mean, just again, it's another one of those scenes where the fabrics just are so amazing. Like this red drape back here, and the light coming off of the robe of the angel, and this, just the I mean,
if you look at the feathers on Gabriel there, that is remarkable.
Yeah, his the detail on the feathers is really well. This one thing that I find is just amazing is just the sunlight, the play on the sunlight on this purple. I mean, look at the color variations on this that he has used just to highlight the light, just to demonstrate the light. And the palette is just amazing. Just that light pink on that purple, it's so realistic. I love it. I think it's so fascinating. These flowers, the lilies, it's a religious icon. Of course, it's the lily is often meant to symbolize the Trinity.
Yep.
And
well, you've got the dove in the corner representing the Holy Spirit.
Yep.
So,
Yep. So then the dove coming in from the window, and then also the sun ray. There's a ray of sunlight coming in through here too, which is again, like, that sunlight is so masterfully painted in here, because you see the rays, but you can trace them. Like, you can follow the rays, you can follow the reflection and see, like, oh, well, this light, it would bounce from that source. And this, like, the angle of the light is really good. The brightness of the light on the, hitting the front here. Another thing that I really, go ahead.
It's something where when you look at where the shadows fall, it's not just like he set up a studio and it's all coming from point A to point B. It's very much, he went through and said, okay, this is where my point of light is, the dove, and followed that through with everything, rather than just kind of cheaping out and saying, well, that's good enough.
Right. And he also it's also a daylight scene too, which so the whole room is more lit up, but it also, like, he did use the dark elements of the Caravaggio dark elements here to a degree, but this is more of his own style than anything. He used the realism. He used a little bit of the darkness. I can't say that like anytime there's shadow in here, it's Caravaggio's influence. It's not really what it is. But the realism of the scene is a Caravaggio. That's part of the Caravaggio influence. I mean, look at that foot. You know, look at how the feet are done. How the light is hitting the sole of his foot there. Like, I'm not going to go into too much on that. I don't want to get any weirdos excited.
Well, unless they donate.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, no, it's you've got that, and again the fabric, the folds on the sheets on the bed, and then you look back at the column just above the wings, and you see the detail in that.
Right.
It's just remarkable.
You know, the detail would be even better when this painting was new. I mean, you can see it's old and it's cracking, like a lot of these old paintings are, that have had like heavy restoration work done to them and needed it. You know?
Yeah.
He's also really good with hair. Like, as good as he is with fabric, he's also very good with hair as well. And he does a lot of like lighter hair, the wisps and the curls. That's really well done. Another thing that I always, and this is in a lot of the paintings, this is in most paintings, is the little hand gesture. The little, like, that's, most of the paintings have that. Like, if you see a version of the Virgin Mary in a painting, she'll have that, like, bless you hand sign.
Yes. Yes, that is a very common motif.
Yeah.
And it's also interesting, though, with Gabriel pointing the single finger up.
Yeah.
There is a bit of symbology there too, someone is coming, kind of gesture.
Yeah. Yeah, or you know, someone's looking for you. Yeah, you're right. Just indicating that, you know, pointing to heaven, and then you have it's an intensely religious scene. I mean, aside from the angel and Mary and all that stuff, but all of the other stuff in there, with the lilies and the dove. I mean, even if it didn't have an angel in it, with the lilies and the dove, you would be able to see it's a very religious scene.
Correct. Well, and also the coloration, because you know, Mary's always represented in blue, but there's also kind of that royal purple.
Yeah.
Throughout, which is fantastic.
Yeah, and he uses an incredibly rich palette here. You know, I mean, there's the blue and the red of her dress, which this is undoubtedly, you know, changed color a little bit over time. But the folds of the dress down by her feet are so well done.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so... Yeah.
You know, when you look at something like this and realize it has 400 years of age, roughly, how much more vivid it would have been originally.
Yeah.
And the extra details that would have been.
Yeah.
That's what I love about these old pieces, is they told a story, but they also told a story in the details as well.
Yes, very much so. And this painting was the one that really kind of opened the door for him to get into the aristocratic circles of London and Paris. You know, and understandably so. Like, this is a gorgeous piece of work. And he, you know, and it's huge. It was commissioned, and people like to show that shit off. And so it was undoubtedly showed off to the visiting nobility and anything like that, who would have indeed wanted that as well. So it does show, I mean, again, in the woman Mary's face, it's very smooth and style. That's a more mannerist style, because it's not quite as real. But it is, it's meant to portray her. You know, they always portray Virgin Mary in a certain way. Always make her, you know, as
dignified as possible.
yeah. It's as wholesome and pretty and whatnot as dignified. I think is probably the best word for it.
Yeah. But it's very also contemporaneous with her portrayals. You know, very, kind of
Mm-hmm.
young European woman, where it makes sense for that time period.
It did. And again, this was all part of this was part of that Counter-Reformation movement where the church pushed really hard to get back to. They pushed really hard to get back to the Catholic Church, right? Like they were trying to bring people back from Protestantism and trying to bring back the power and the glory of the Roman Catholic Church. And they did a very good job. I think they did a very good job venerating these scenes. Like this is a beautiful scene. It's beautifully painted.
And it tells the story of the Annunciation.
It does.
That's obvious, but it's still
And
for a very with the exception of a lot of the elites, and even their literacy may be questionable, but to be able to see this and tell that story to a peasant on the street, so to speak, even though this was in a private collection.
yeah,
To be able to express that so well and so clearly does take a lot more than just the ability to slap something down on a piece of canvas well.
right.
It takes a bit of understanding your subject in a way that modern autiste could definitely not.
I think no, yeah, I definitely get what you're saying. I get where you're coming from there. And I couldn't say whether he was a deeply religious man or not. Most people were at the time, and the nobility really, more than anything, the nobility needed to demonstrate their piety to the church to help maintain their position. Yes. Because if you got blacklisted by the church, there was exactly nothing you could do back then, right? And if you were a powerful banking family, of course you had to be in with the church.
Yeah, that was the way to stay in the good graces of not just the church, but most foreign governments as well,
right?
That are wanting to use you as a trade. So
yeah, because the church was one of those things that was, it's because it's the church, it spans boundaries of nations, right? So it's a more universal, like Christianity is a more universal thing than English or German or Italian at that time, right?
Yes.
Not everybody spoke Italian, but most people were Christians, so.
Yep.
And there were churches and stuff obviously, but that's what all this artwork was for, and it was all designed to, you'd say it was designed to venerate God, or you could look at it cynically and say it was the nobility's way to kind of weasel their in with the church. But regardless of the purpose of the paintings are amazing. And the messages they push are what the church wanted, right? And they're messages that I think would resonate very well with modern Christians as well.
Especially in the current paradigm, there's a heavy return to kind of traditional thought, which calls back to this time period for a lot of people, and that's kind of irreligious as well. But this art style, this Baroque style, really kind of draws people into the story, and that's the appeal then. And now people are looking at, from a modern perspective, why can't we tell things this way? And
right.
I think that's something worth kind of noting in the popularity of these traditional, not just styles of art, but culture, because art and culture are inexplicably intertwined.
Yeah. Well, one flows through the other. So, and which way it flows is really up to interpretation sometimes. But we're coming up on. We got 15 minutes left here. We'll jump in on that theme. And one more thing I wanted to point out is this is a modern scene. It's a contemporary Baroque scene. They're not in a manger, or they're not in anything. So again, carrying on that message that the church's message is eternal and timeless. So okay. That we're gonna hop over to the finding of Moses. So this was done in the early 1630s for Charles I's wife, Henrietta Marie, to celebrate the birth of their son, Charles II. What this scene depicts is where they find Moses, the scene in the Old Testament where they find Moses in the river. So this is, of course, Moses. This is the Queen of Egypt and her maidservants. You can see this woman, she's in a state of undress because they were bathing. This woman here is thought to be Moses' sister. And then this is thought to be Moses' mother.
Interesting.
Yeah, which is why, her shirt's off because it's like, hey, nurse this baby. Kind of in a way.
Yeah.
And then the daughter. So, the story, the daughter went and got the mom to nurse Moses. So that's who this is. And then this is the maid that's been... Now, these women are pointing. The pointing doesn't make sense inside of the painting. What happened was this was painted for a specific house. He was like, okay, we're going to paint this and hang it right here in this house in Greenwich. And so those women are pointing out a window to the River Thames, which is what this is thought to be. Because, of course, it's meant to be the Nile, but that is not the Nile.
Far from.
Yeah. And he was in London when he painted this, so this is believed to be the Thames. And so so these women were pointing out the window to the River Thames while the river's right here in the painting. And this is a big painting too. It's 101 by 19. Or 101 by 119, 257 centimeters by 301 centimeters. It's undergone some pretty heavy restorations. There's a couple of interesting videos on YouTube about that. It's currently in the National Gallery in London. They acquired it, I think, 5 years ago, permanently.
Okay.
But the, again, the highlighting on the cloth, everything, it's just really, it's such a vibrant scene with the cloth and the coloring too. Like the coloring on her, and there's not a really super high res image of this, so this is about as good as we're gonna get. But the coloring on the light here, and the dress here, like down by her feet, the light hitting there.
And each dress is a distinct color. It's not like he reused his palette.
Yeah, this is an incredibly expansive palette. I mean, just the coloring for this dress here. Like, it looks like, oh, that's just green and yellow. That's like 15 different colors that he's used there. Just in that. Like, there's so much different color goes into making cloth look that vibrant. And work, too. Like, it's just really fascinating how he did it. So this is the first version of this he did for King Charles.
King Charles. Yeah.
And then later he painted one for King Philip IV of Spain. And you can see this one's a lot different. Now, of course, they're not painting because there's no window for them pointing, because there's no window for them to be pointing out of. The faces, this one we have a much better resolution on it. So the faces, I think, are a little bit more defined in this one. The
I swear he used the same model for all the faces.
I think it seems like he. Now I attribute that to the Mannerist influence. And
That's what I was going to ask you.
yeah, because the Mannerist painting style, we're gonna have to go. We'll have to do Titian. So we'll do Artemisia, and then we'll go back and do Titian after that, just to see what the just to get a good look at that Mannerist style, just to see, because then you'll be able to see like where this came from. So the one thing that I really like about this too is the coloring in the background. Of course, there's still the river, but the trees I think are so much more vivid, and there's a lot more foliage.
More vivid.
In the other
there's
one.
that sunset in the background,
Mm-hmm.
which is really something I like seeing in a painting.
Yeah.
Is a good sunset, because that
Yeah.
tells me the artist can study nature and actually replicate it.
Right. And this one also, they wanted him, he toned down the nudity a bit in this one, so the maidservant isn't, her boob's not hanging out here.
Yeah.
Also,
Moses has a cloth over his chest now.
Yeah. And the use of color here on that purple dress is, again, it's beautiful. Mm-hmm. The filigree on this dress, like, it's just so well done. It looks like a photograph. Yeah. Which is something that artists weren't always striving for, right? They weren't always trying to get realism. They were looking for stylized stuff. Like, reality's all around me. Why would I give a shit about that? It's like, well, this is portraying reality. Exactly. It's portraying stuff that is historical stuff in a real setting for mm-hmm. contemporary audiences, right? And again, they're all in contemporary dresses. Yep. They're all in the regular dresses.
Yep. And it's also kind of an interesting note looking between the two, the slight difference in fashion between like the English and the Spanish version.
Yeah.
Yeah. The queen in the English painting is a little, shall we say, less ostentatious.
Yes, but, very much.
Yeah, it's an interesting subtlety.
Well, the queen in the second, she's not wearing the Queen of Egypt is not wearing a crown in the English one, but she is in the Spanish one. And I guess I didn't learn enough about it to know if that was a particularity for Spain versus England. But unfortunately, there is not a ton of information on this guy out there, and there's a lot if you there's a bit if you dig, but he is so overshadowed by his daughter and Caravaggio that most people don't even know his name. And when you Google his name, his last name, if you just put Gentileschi into Google, it will give you nothing but his daughter's paintings. Which is, it's understandable. She was by far the most popular one, and she's the one who's got the most traction. And
right, and probably more popularized today, but still.
Right.
It's interesting because before we got started, looked at some of her work and compared it to her father's, and
yeah,
I definitely like her father's work a lot more.
I appreciate his. I feel like his style is so refined and mm-hmm. elegant. This is a very beautiful painting. Yes. And the cloth in here just is, the richness of that fabric is very opulent. Those dresses mm-hmm. are very opulent, especially for the time in the Spanish one, especially because, the image we have of it is so much brighter. But the regular one, the English one, has undergone a ton of restoration at the National Gallery, and it looks beautiful. It looks beautiful. Obviously not as good as the day it was painted, but it looks they've cleaned it up quite a bit. And these are huge paintings. Let's say that again. They're huge paintings. Even the second one. The second one is 92 by 110. 92 inches by 110 inches, 242 centimeters by 281 centimeters. So, excuse me. Yeah.
That's something I just don't. I don't know if there's a good perspective on how much of a wall that takes up of that. For at least me, like, oh yeah, this is fine, this is good. Oh wait, this is huge.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the funny thing about a lot of these pieces is like, because when you see a painting now, I mean, all my paintings are small. I haven't done anything too big. Like the biggest thing I've ever done is the size of a poster board. But, and that's the size most people have, but some of these paintings are a friggin' massive. They're bigger than you could fit on a wall in your house. And it's because they were painted for rich people that had giant palatial mansions, right? They had these giant estates with ballrooms and great halls and stuff like that people could get in, and that allowed you the opportunity to decorate with stuff like this. And as much as people want to shit on rich people in general, we would not have the art we have now were it not for rich patrons in the past. And we would not have the art we have now were it not for rich patrons we have now. There are many, many, many amazing artists working contemporarily that aren't doing like gay ass performance art shit. That aren't doing modern bullshit. That are doing genuinely good art. And we would talk more about their art here, but the shit's all under copyright, and so we can't show pictures of it. So those guys are gonna have to wait until they die, or YouTube stops being so gay about copyright. But
good luck with that.
Yeah. And so that's our trip through Orazio Gentileschi's work and life, and just our quick hour-long rundown of this. And I hope you guys listening found it informative or had a good time. I hope the audio didn't suck too bad.
A reason to, or discovered a reason to go to an art gallery and actually look at stuff like this.
Yeah. And
I'm actually getting talked into going to one with the woman. And it's like, I'll go try that.
Yeah, awesome. Because the fact that this is 400 years old plus, right? Like this painting is almost 400 years old, and it was such an amazing piece of work then, and we get to benefit from it today. Like. Speaks to the enduring legacy of like really good art, like really popular, really powerful art. And again, this is one of those things where it tells a very powerful or like a really popular religious scene in contemporary garb. The church's message is eternal, and yeah. So we're kind of turned into a little pro-church propaganda ourselves. just because
it worked
of the
for
work.
me.
But yeah, I think we're good, and we can start wrapping it up here.
Yeah. I enjoyed it. I think it's also interesting to go through and see these artists kind of covering some of the same topics a little bit. Specifically with Judith and. Maybe we need to do a special episode on just the beheading of Holofernes.
Oh, man.
Yes. That could be an interesting rabbit hole.
Dude, I don't know if we have enough time to talk about all the versions of that painting. There's a ton.
Yeah.
But next week, when we talk about Artemisia Gentileschi, we will see several of those scenes, because she's done several, and she repainted the same scene a few times. So next week, we're doing Orazio's daughter, Artemisia Gentileschi, and covering her work and her life. She died of the plague, so that's kind of interesting. But but she had an amazing life, and she was a good painter. She definitely, you can tell that her father taught her well. And
I'm looking forward to see what Caravaggio's influence trickling through her father is.
Yeah,
that's going to be an interesting thing.
Yeah, that should be a great one. So, I guess with that, we'll wrap it up here. I think we're probably right on the dot with you on your time.
We are, since my clock is not adding extra minutes into the time zones.
Yeah, I don't know. We're not only a couple of hours apart, we're a couple of hours and a couple of minutes apart. It's so weird.
It's just hilarious.
But anyhow, thanks for coming out, folks. Really appreciate you all. LGM, Bezic, Fab Daddy, K-Skull. And
Maureen was on my channel until YouTube decided to just lose its mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, we'll see you next week, folks. Have a wonderful week.
Indeed. And go find some interesting art. It's worth your time.
Yep. All right. Bye, all.
Bye.
Okay. All right. Put myself on the outro screen here.